From WakeMed Soccer Park in beautiful Cary, North Carolina, welcome to the 4th annual TST The Soccer Tournament. Over the next week, legends, creators, pros, and dreamers collide in one of soccer's wildest laboratories, where every touch matters and every match can change everything. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. My name's Christian Philemon, known to many of my friends as Philly, and you are witnessing the start of what is going to be game number 18 at TST, as we have a matchup featuring Club América and the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. That's right, you OG NASL fans. The Strikers resurrect their famous brand for a shot at $1 million. This is their first appearance at TST, and Fort Lauderdale features players that competed in the 2011 through 2016 iteration. Obviously, the original one going back to 77, concluding at 83. They've got a player to watch. He's wearing the number 6, Victor Giroud, also known as PC or Pese in Portuguese. Here's a player who's had over 200 games within his career, played in MLS with Orlando City, the Vancouver Whitecaps, and was a USL champion in 2022 with San Antonio FC. Started his professional career in Brazil with Giants Corinthians. On the other end is a titan of Liga MX, making their return to TST, and this time bringing a team into the women's division, Club América. Lots of players returned from last year's team that did not make it out of the group stages, so now they have an opportunity for retribution and revenge. The player to watch out making his return is Miguel Layún, whose name we should really just change to legend. 71 caps with El Tri, competed in the 2014-2018 World Cup, El Tri being Team Mexico. Over 200 games played at Club América. Also played in England with Watford, played in Atlante, and played at Porto. Those are your players to watch out for. Let's get into our starting lineups really quickly. First for Club América. In between the goal, Hugo Murga, George Corral, Luis Fuentes, Alejandro Garcia, Luis Amador, Miguel Layún, and a legend out of the Major Arena Soccer League wearing number 77, who mainly featured with Sneaky Fox, Nick Pereira. On the other end of the pitch is Fort Lauderdale Strikers, and they start in between the sticks. Kaiki Hosha, Randy Martinez, Artem Baranovsky, our player to watch, Victor Giroud, Pese, Mohamed Ben Sharif, Musa Sow, and Fabian Bastidas. América wearing their blue kits, Fort Lauderdale Strikers wearing the yellow with the red stripes. Your officials for this morning are Gurhan Dolgan and Daniel Ratford. For those that are new to TST, the dimensions of the pitch are obviously a lot smaller than what you would see in a traditional 11v11. In this case, we got 7v7 on a field that's 65 by 45 yards. 6.5 feet is the height of the goal, with 18.5 wide. There are two 18-minute halves of a running clock. There are no offside, no slide tackling, unlimited substitution, and the most important part, no game ends in a tie, because ties aren't always the most fun. Every game will end in a game winner, which will occur after regulation in what's called TST, or the acronym, Target Score Time. More on that as we approach. As stated, the Fort Lauderdale Strikers are rehashing their brand just to honor the history and to those who have gone before them, and well, to represent Fort Lauderdale and the South Florida community on a national scale. For Club América, they are back and trying to play and tap into a new audience, América East Coast, and also doing this to gain fidelity, loyalty, and just create community with former players and Club América's legend. They've been a part of TST now. They are back, and they are looking for a further progression than what they had last year. Last year, they played a game where they lost against Drip FC 5-4. They lost their game against the 6-10 4-2. They did manage to beat a very talented Nani team by a score of 3-0. Legendary Portuguese player Nani, who had a fantastic career at Manchester United and among other places, will not be at TST this year, although he's been a fixture throughout the course of the past couple of years. So América looking to make some waves. Las Águilas, Los Millonarios, the biggest club and the most successful club at a Liga MX, taking on the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. And this is going to be a fun one. Both teams approaching the pitch and we should be in for a fun contest. As mentioned, there are no offside. With the unlimited subs, they can't just come onto the pitch. They have to go into the substitution box and get called onto the turf. The turf being the pitch, the greenest grass you'll see in Cary, North Carolina for quite some time. And the home of the NWSL's NC Courage. It's been the home for TST for a number of years now and is going to be for the foreseeable future after the state of North Carolina and the city of Cary invested nearly $7 million to keep this tournament going. The city of Cary has been a gracious host and has been an incredible partner and contributor to the growth of this incredible global soccer festival. Getting ready to kick things off for Club América is Nick Pereira wearing the number 77. We are moments away from the start of today's game, just waiting for the official to blow the whistle. Sets his timer, and we are underway under an overcast, cloudy day here in Cary, North Carolina. Been fortunate that Mother Nature hasn't been temperamental enough to pour on us. Although from what I've been told by the locals, you get all 4 seasons around here throughout the course of a day. But so far, it's just been fine and humid. Even if it does rain, it won't matter. The lightning will be a factor, and the lightning could affect whether or not these two teams continue playing, at least for the foreseeable time. But no scenario, no worries there as the pass comes into Randy Martinez, who last year played at TST with La Mexicana Express. 3 seasons in the Major Arena Soccer League, and a very ambitious attempt by Fort Lauderdale Strikers trying to break open this goose egg as we're not even a minute into the game. It was taken by number 3, Mohamed Ben Sharif. Ben Sharif, who has futsal experience and has competed with the Algerian national futsal team. Finishing the thought on Randy Martinez, 3 seasons in the MASL, and his finest one yet with the St. Louis Ambush. Nick Pereira on the pitch for Club América. He's a player who's one of the best to play in the professional indoor world in the United States, in the Major Arena Soccer League. Referred to Nick Pereira in the past as the Iberian Brickhouse for his size and stature. An incredibly accomplished player, going back to his time winning a national title at UC Santa Barbara, playing with the United States men's national beach soccer team, and of course most recently being a champion in the Major Arena Soccer League with the San Diego Sockers. Martinez, the player we had mentioned moments ago, goes right into TST, Victor Giraud. An incredible career and a fan favorite. A lot of people that have followed the Fort Lauderdale Strikers love, know, and appreciate that name, and he's had himself a tremendous career. Again, playing in Orlando City, going to Vancouver, and I've stated this a time or two before on broadcast. The amount of teams and the travel that a professional soccer player has throughout their career is just fascinating. Pese started his career at Corinthians in Brazil, and you go to Florida, you go to Canada, you go all over the place. But no place more important now than Cary, North Carolina. As that attempt floated into the box, gets kicked out. And we've got our, quick corner for the Strikers. Pass into the box, threaded through, shot, saved. And getting tested automatically is Hugo Murga, competing in Kings League with Mexico. Also played at Atlético San Luis in Mexico. Not every player competing on América had featured extensively for the team. Very few, obviously, with the amount of tenure that Miguel Legend Layun has had. Martinez became a professional going to an open tryout for a team in Southern California called the Empire Strikers. Since then, his career has blossomed. Been a very important part in the St. Louis Ambush's tenure. St. Louis Ambush made one of their deepest runs in the modern-day Major Arena Soccer League. This is a league you're going to hear me talk about extensively throughout TST as this tournament. Excellent passing, just too hard of a touch by Ben Sharif. But the ideas were there, and the crowd showing their approval, clapping for Fort Lauderdale as they've had a couple of nice looks inside the box. Now going back to my thought, the Major Arena Soccer League has fielded more than 100 athletes in all the iterations of TST, and every team that has won TST has featured talent exclusively from the professional indoor soccer ranks. And we've got quite a few players on the Strikers and Club América that have played in that league. Ben Suddeth being a player that we know of as well, wearing number 3, although he's not in the game. Pass comes in to Pereira. Pereira, an exceptional playmaker as that shot comes well off the mark, but a valiant effort nonetheless by Luis Amador, who had played with América's U17 side and also with Necaxa, too, in Liga MX. Pese into Martinez. Martinez, who, after his career playing professional soccer ends, harbors the desire to become a police officer. Randy grew up with some of the staff playing for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, and he's getting the start and getting the minutes and already being a threat. Ball gets taken away by América with the keeper well out of position. A ambitious opportunity that goes 3/4 the length of the field, but no problem. As Kaiki Hosha puts it into play. Kaiki, who played in Germany at Darmstadt, so played with Corinthians U17s, played with Flamenco, the U19 and the U20s. As both keepers have a grasp on the pelota in the early goings of the game. And as stated, América had a tough time at TST last year, although they did beat a talented Nani team that at that point was already through the group stages. Every team competing here has 3 games. Every team will play in 3 games. And counterattack opportunity here for the Strikers. The attempt and the goal! Bottom right corner where the dust mites dwell. Joel Tarbich with the opener. And we've got our first on the scoreboard. Joel, who had competed with the Barca Residency Academy, can now call himself a TST goal scorer. And the Strikers go on the board early. Striking hard, striking fast, showing Club América no mercy in these first 7 minutes of action. And so far they have held the lion's share of possession here on Field 1. These fields got partitioned. This is the main pitch that the NC Courage and the NWSL play on, and it's been partitioned into 2 fields. 2 fields that I'll be getting the fortunate opportunity to spend a great deal of time on. As the pass comes into number 26, Franco Rivera, and Jesus Pacheco, also known as Sweet Pea, checks onto the pitch. Pacheco out of Northridge, California, in the San Fernando Valley. Like his teammate on the other end, Nick Pereira, or his counter on the other end, Nick Pereira just won a chip with the San Diego Sockers. Calls for handball in the box. Officials not blowing their whistle. América looking to find their first strike. Contact in the box. And that looks like it's going to be a penalty kick. The first one that I have the opportunity of seeing here. Drawing the penalty was Francisco Rivera, who spent his youth time at San Luis and América before having a 115-game career at Zacatecas. And so taking the free kick, well, I thought momentarily it was going to be Diego Martinez. It's going to be Nick Pereira. Nick Pereira, who's played at every TST. So here's an opportunity for América to get the equalizer. Hosha versus Pereira. Will the Iberian Brickhouse add another goal to his tally? The strike and the save by Hosha denies Pereira. And he's going to have his Strikers teammates giving him high fives. Pacheco kicks it out of the danger zone as it falls back to the feet of Jorge Corral. Corral played at TST last year and spent some time with América, played 12 games, and during that spell was loaned to Chiapas. Played in Querétaro for a number of years where he competed in 160 games. including winning the Copa MX Apertura in 2016. Also had a healthy career at Puebla, where he had 75 appearances. One cap with Mexico, and that was against the United States. Never an easy feat to crack the national team, in particular a team that's always as talented as Mexico. So conceding the corner is the Strikers, and now Club América with a corner. Look for the ball to come into Pereira, as that one gets duked out of the field of play. That headed towards some food stand. So you might get the Voigt ball back with some mustard on it. Literally. Voigt being the official ball supplier of TST. Voigt, born in Los Angeles, spending the last century being perfected in Mexico. And Voigt balls are flying galore. That one nearly took a fan out of the stands, right by the Keep the Tradition Burning tent. Cross in the header. Gets lifted well above the crossbar by Alberto Garcia. So that's going to lead to a change of possession, as we are over 10 minutes here in this first half. Strikers scored the first goal, courtesy of number 19, Joel Tarbich, who just gets his pocket picked cleanly by Corral. Pocket picked so cleanly it would make a thief in Times Square envious back in the 90s. I wouldn't say that Times Square in New York City is the threat of pickpockets, although in any big city you got to wonder about that. Joel recovers possession. Connects up top to Sidney Rivera. Sidney Rivera, in my neck of the woods, New York City, the five boroughs, representing Staten Island. Played at Old Dominion University, where he was part of the first ever Conference USA championship winning team. Also had 10 caps with the Puerto Rican national team. Selected by Orlando City 2013 in the Super Draft. It's always fun to give you a little bit of background on these players. Pass threaded into the box. América does a great job preventing any kind of lethal attempts once again by the Strikers, who at this point have come out of the gates looking really good. 4 shots with 2 of them on target. América 5 shots with 1 on target. But it seems as if it's been really Fort Lauderdale controlling things. América did manage to win a penalty in the box, but Keiku Hosha denying Nick Pereira of the equalizer. And there's an attempt. Hosha diving for it, as Layun, the legend, tried to take a bite out of the apple. No worm found in that attempt, as Pese plays it to his left side. Giroud. Entering the game, number 5, Jesse Williams. We played with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Chattanooga FC. Also the Des Moines Menace. Williams, 10 caps with Trinidad and Tobago's national team. See a lot of Trinidadians later on today playing with Reggae Rovers. Reggae Rovers, one of the most fun teams here at TST. Excellent passing. And crisis gets averted. América standing tall defensively, regaining possession. You just see how quickly Fort Lauderdale finds their way into the box. Layun, if I'm not mistaken, is going to participate in the first ever home run derby here at TST. For those at home, you're not going to get a chance to see it unless it's streamed on somebody's phone, which is why you need to take a trip out to Cary, North Carolina. Pereira tries to accept a back heel from Javier Ortega. Ortega has it on the touchline. And a corner, and it's going to be Layun. Once again, look for Pereira on the far post. And that just gets past his feet. Pereira's usually going to be the intended target, not only because he takes a lot of real estate up in the box, but his ability to find his teammates. Pereira is incredible at scoring goals, but he takes great pride in assisting, as he is one of the greatest to do so in the Major Arena Soccer League. Number one all time in that statistical category in the modern-day Major Arena Soccer League, the MASL. For those curious about this league, MASLsoccer.com would be your home to check out. MASL players have made Cary, North Carolina their home these past few years. The inaugural TST was won by Newtown Pride, followed by that La Bombonera, followed by Bumpy Pitch, and now the gates are open. And it isn't the MASL players that are the popular ones here. It is the Kings League players. It's another attempt. Sails just above the crossbar. Joel Tarbic, who won a ACC championship close by as a member of the Demon Deacons, Wake Forest, in 2024. Joel was a top drawer, 103rd overall prospect in the class of 24. Comes from a very athletic family. His mom and dad played, proud alums of Westminster College. And nearly slipping on the turf and causing a turnover was Fabian Bastidas. Fabian Bastidas, 5 games with FC Tulsa, out of Brooklyn. Spent a little bit of time in Uruguay playing for River Plate. Not the River Plate that most of you would know from Argentina, the Uruguayo version. As Pese to his left, quickly approaching halftime. And once we do, don't go too far away, because we only have about 6 minutes before we get back to the second half. Can América find an equalizer, or will it be the Strikers with a go-ahead? No throw-ins, in case you're wondering at home. It's another one of the nuances here at TST. We call this a chaotic laboratory of soccer. It's been an incredible laboratory of soccer, bringing some of the most exciting players throughout the global game. As we hear the official blowing the whistle, América resumes, trying to quickly advance it across the midfield. Open momentarily was Rivera. Rivera now coasts into the box. The bigger Jesse Williams marking him extensively. América looking to spread it in. And falling down on the pitch, the intended target, Luis Amador. Didn't see if he got slipped or tripped up. Punched away. Levitated and elevated into the air and headed out by América. Trying to keep it in play, but it's going to be Strikers' ball. So América just milking some time off the clock. Over to Pese, who's going to fire it into the stands. Only 6.5 feet from bottom to the top of the crossbar. So not a lot of room to work with there. No fan in the stand there. And it's important to note, beware of flying objects if you're here in Cary, North Carolina. I myself have witnessed a fan get pegged. And it's not the best feeling. Where most of us would prefer our steaks black and blue, the last thing you want is a welt on your body as a spectator black and blue. América with only seconds to operate before the half is over. One last attempt. Pese. Osha. And that is the official's whistle indicating the end of the half. And as it stands right here on Field 1 at Wake Med Soccer Park, courtesy of a goal by Joel Tarbic, Fort Lauderdale Strikers head to their respective benches, leading the mighty Club América by a score of 1-0. We're going to take some time off, and we'll be back here in 5 minutes. It's almost noon, which means it's happy hour wherever you are. And if you're hanging out with us here on a Wednesday, we thank you so much. We're going to be back on the other end of this break. You are watching the 4th annual TST on YouTube. About a minute or so away from the start of the second half here on Field 1 in this matchup between Club América and the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. My name's Christian Philemon, but we're all friends now since this is my third game. You can call me Philly. That's Philly with an F. The Strikers, in the first 18 minutes, 6 shots with 2 of them on target. Club América also with 6 shots with 1 on target. But no attempt more valiant than the penalty kick that Fort Lauderdale Strikers keeper Kaiki Hosha saved on Club América's Nick Pereira. And it's awesome seeing the Fort Lauderdale Strikers on there. I'm not sure if we're in 1977 or teleported back up to 2010. Club hasn't been around since 2016. It's been about 10 years since the club got dissolved. And could this be that we may see the Fort Lauderdale Strikers once again? Perhaps, depending on how things fare out here in Cary, North Carolina, we might see that historic brand get resurrected. And what a history-making endeavor it would be for them to take out the mighty Club América that are still looking to find their foothold here in TST. Club América has gone outside of players from Liga MX and recruiting players from the Major Arena Soccer League just to bolster their offense, as we saw with the addition of Nick Pereira and briefly Ben Suddeth. Number 3 was a rookie in the Major Arena Soccer League just last year. Strikers kicking things off here as Musa Soa, otherwise known as Joker, puts it into play. And we're underway here in the second half. Joker played in Kings League and competed in over 144 games in the second tier of the professional pyramid in France. As Martinez regains possession, Pese, that one gets lifted and into Musa. Musa, who has Corral all over him like peanut butter on jelly. I say that with a rumble in my stomach as we pass the breakfast mark. So out of breakfast and into lunch. And if you're joining us on your lunchtime, we want to say thank you. For those that are new, we welcome you. For those that are returning, welcome back. Martinez to his right. And denying the pass into the box, I believe, was Luis Fuentes. Luis Fuentes wearing the number 2, played last year. Cross in the header, just missing. Placed in a good direction by Artem Baranovsky. Just not on target. Baranovsky, who's had over 250 professional games played in Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Tajikistan. Also played in the finals of Nisa with the Michigan Stars. Cross in by América, booted out by the Strikers. Musa opens some space. Fort Lauderdale looking to strike, but Martinez puts the reset button as now things operate from the back line and from the keeper. Baranovsky, who had the last attempt. Threading by a couple of América defenders, but it gets poked away. Strikers nearly collect possession back as moments ago Jorge Corral was sandwiched in between a sea of red and yellow. Official's going to blow the whistle and América plays it in. See a couple of Fort Lauderdale Strikers kits in the stands. That's fun. That is a design that I would happily wear out on a night with my wife where we reside in Los Angeles. Might have to go find one, and soccer.com is the place where you can find a lot of this merchandise at TST, as has been the case for the past couple of years. If you're at home listening and you're going to come into Cary, North Carolina, they're in the same place they were just as you enter Wake Med Soccer Park. They also are selling World Cup U.S. jerseys. The through ball, that goes back into the hands of Hosha. Kaiki, very careful. Rolls it into Martinez. Martinez back to Hosha. Baranovsky all alone on the left side. And Fort Lauderdale looking to finesse their way through the midfield. And Pese just does just that. The patience that Fort Lauderdale has this half has been exemplary. Bencheray's pass into Pese gets recovered by Giro, but he's going to get whistled for a foul, and Club América resumes possession. Barely 4 minutes into the second half. And you could mildly feel the anxiety in the air. Normally, Club América would come in with a lot of supporters and a lot of fans, as Las Águilas is one of the biggest clubs in the world and one of the biggest clubs in Mexico. Trying to find space is Rivera. Rivera into Corral, who spent a lot of time on the pitch for América. Pass into the box, and that's poked out for a corner. Coaching América is Enrique Alejandro Esquida Tirado and Jorge Camacho. For Fort Lauderdale, Florent Simon Pongol, who in FIFA's U17 World Cup won a golden boot with France and had himself a heck of a career playing with Liverpool. So Flo is what he goes by. Also as a Canal Plus pundit, trying to coach his strikers team to a victory here against América. Breaking some ankles! And nearly scoring a goal was América, using some basketball playground terminology there. So we saw a threatening opportunity. I think that was taken by number 28, Alberto Garcia. Just the footwork implemented there, putting his defenders on the keister. And América trying to break the goose egg that appears on their scoreboard. The cross in. Cleaned up, but back up top. And it's going to deflect off the strikers. Layun wearing the number 19. Strikers regained possession with some space on the attack there. Martinez was open momentarily. There was a cross attempt in, trying to find Rivera. Poked away by the keeper. And recovered. Pereira, through ball. Could this be it? Saved by Osha. Oh my gosh, what a save. Thus far, my vote for save of the game. Osha well outside of his box. Goes into Martinez. Martinez to Joel Torbic, who had the lone and only goal of the game. Nearly lost it to a sprinting Garcia. Pereira extends his leg, recovers, gets it the pass right back. Tries to thread through a needle of strikers' defenders, unable to do so. The build-up. And Molina denying a streaking Rivera into the box. América still trying to find the equalizer. But compacted in has been Fort Lauderdale. Now, we've questioned whether or not Mother Nature was going to be temperamental today. Seeing the sun trying to force her way in to our environment here. Although now, as I say it, the clouds converge over. So no shadows on the pitch and no sun to be seen. You fans out there, hopefully you are wearing the sunblock. The shot, what a save! Another opportunity, and the go-ahead! Excellent ball passing, excellent goal. Sidney Rivera. And strikers go up by a score of 2-0. Sidney Rivera's going to get the credit. Rivera out of Staten Island doing Staten Island strong here. 2-0 in favor of Fort Lauderdale. And the Strikers are up and roaring. América finding themselves befuddled as the chip comes back into the hands of Hosha. Somehow, that ball gets kept into play. One of the players from Las Águilas goes down, takes contact to the face. Miguel Robolo, who featured with América's U17 side, Pumas' U20 and Pumas 2. So it's going to be a change of possession as Fort Lauderdale really hugged that touchline by center pitch. Kept it into play before the official blew the whistle, calling the foul. There we see Ben Sudduth onto the pitch. Sudduth, as we stated, was a rookie in the Major Arena Soccer League. Just recently got picked up by the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, the new expansion team in the Major Arena Soccer League that'll be playing out of Allentown, Pennsylvania. Playing in one of the most beautiful AHL arenas. Counterattack opportunity. Player goes down on the pitch. Official blowing no whistle as Rivera was looking up, looking for a foul. Fort Lauderdale, for a split second, saw the sea part wave as the goal was open, but credit América's defense for not allowing Fort Lauderdale to strike in for the third time. Finding space and a shot, saved! The rebound! And we see just how aggressively Fort Lauderdale has been firing it into América's direction. Hugo Murga, the América keeper, has had his work cut out for him this entire game. He's been target practice for Fort Lauderdale here in these past couple of minutes. So past the 10-minute mark, closely approaching the 11-minute mark. As after regulation, we're going to head into target score time. Can América find another one or two to claw back into this game? After regulation, the score does not stand the way it is. Is this the moment? Deflection. And that's going to come off of Diego Martinez. As we're starting to see number 17, Eugene Storikov, onto the pitch. Went to college at Stetson. Had 3 caps with the U.S. U23 side. Also competed with Zenit St. Petersburg. Playing with the ever so popular Indy 11 as well. 30 games played there. Martinez on the attack. Over to his right. Open in the box. Misdirected was Rivera. Rivera hungry for a brace, as he has been the focal point, the target forward of the attack for Fort Lauderdale. América is going to go through a line change of players. As the sun comes out, and I have to say even underneath a canopy here and a roof, a little blinding. That attempt from well outside of the box came ever so closely. It was Alejandro Garcia who started this game, who took a crack at Hosha. Hosha so far maintaining a clean sheet. 4 big saves for the Strikers' keeper. Miguel Fuertes makes his way onto the pitch. Ben Sharif, Algerian international futsaler, goes to up top of the box. Fort Lauderdale trying to find their way. So I was trying to find Stefano Pino, who makes his presence felt. Pino, who played at Fluminense, played at Minnesota United, Orlando City, Austin Bold, couple stints with the Indy 11. Was the top scorer at the 2013 MLS Combine. There we saw him getting a quick touch. Was an NASL Golden Ball champ back in 2015 as well. As the strikers block it out of play, América resumes their attack. Can Los Millonarios find their way in? Will Las Águilas soar? Just the way the ball's ping-ponged off of Fort Lauderdale. The soccer gods not favoring América here thus far. Headed out of play by Williams. América regains and resumes possession. Quick substitute as Jesus Molina checks onto the pitch. Thought he was going to tee up for a second. Into Corral. Corral into his right to Layun. Miguel the legend. The pass to the left. Overcooked and sailed up into the atmosphere. A lot of hustle behind the muscle. Too much hustle behind the muscle. As with only 6.5 feet worth of height, that one sailed closer to 30. A field goal that would make the great Adam Vinatieri envious. América wasting an opportunity at clawing one back. You could sense a little bit of desperation coming in from Las Águilas here. Tried to press high and force a turnover. Williams on the run. That pass takes a nice deflection. Pese tried to find Williams, but that comes out of play. Less than 3 minutes remaining here in the second half. Fort Lauderdale with the only 2 goals of the game, courtesy of City Rivera and Joel Torbich. The header by Layun nukes it above the crossbar. And what we've seen here is that Voigt size 5 ball can travel. Voigt, the official ball supplier of the TST. Bastidas to Hosha. Hosha to his left. Excellent passing, Fuertes. Trying to find Bastidas. Regains possession. Shot and a goal by Fort Lauderdale from pitch to the stitch of the netting. And the strikers go up by a score of 3-0. Miguel Fuertes with some force on. Fort Lauderdale leads 3-0. What a goal, an emphatic finish. Miguel Angel Fuertes Hernandez Bandera pounces all over América's defense. 3-0. The hill that América is going to have to climb in target score time is getting higher and higher. Can they at least claw one back? Amador into Molina. Both teammates playing tiki-taka with one another. Javier Ortega. Haven't mentioned his name too much. Played at TST last year as he heads it to Fort Lauderdale. Ortega also had competed with América and Querétaro as well in Mexico. Amador trying to operate as a matador. Under 40 seconds to go. Intercepted by América. "20 seconds remaining here in the half. Williams with the touch in the box. Pese gets it into Musa. In the Bastidas. We're only seconds away from the end of regulation. Williams. One more bite at the apple, but Layun gets in the way. Recovered by Fort Lauderdale. And at any point, the official about to blow that whistle. And he does, indicating the end of regulation with Fort Lauderdale leading Club América by a score of 3-0. The strikers have been all over the pitch and all over Las Aguilas and have a commanding lead going into target score time. But as we know, the veterans of TST know that a 3-goal margin is a nice hill, but a hill that's still climbable. If Club América can get one back, the potential to scale it. Now, let's go over target score time for those of you that are new to this. The target score today is going to be 4. And the reason for that, it's +1 of the leaders. In this case, Fort Lauderdale has 3. If Fort Lauderdale scores 1, that is over. Club América still has a chance, but they're going to have to score 4 goals to win this game. Now, what happens is 7v7 start the TST time. After 3 minutes, nobody scored. We go to 6v6. After another 3 minutes, 6v6 goes to 5v5. Basically, whoever hits the target score wins. So this is going to revolve until 4 gets hit. And in Fort Lauderdale's case, they have a easier road to maneuver. Now, there is a new rule in target score time, by the way. A new rule that is just taken place starting today. The team has 15 seconds to get the ball out of their defensive end. Once the ball crosses midfield, it cannot be kicked back intentionally into their defensive end, or it will result in a change of possession. Think of it as a backcourt violation for the basketball fans out there. If an opponent kicks the ball into that zone, though, it is not a violation but a live ball. Now, if it deflects, 15 seconds restart, but you can't go into the backfield and you can't kill time that way. So that is a nuanced rule here at TST. So again, 7v7. If 4 doesn't get hit, well, you could do the math. It'll never go any less than 2v2. And from the calls that I've been on thus far, have not seen that as of yet. Closest we've seen thus far, at least me, myself personally, has been a 4v4, but we have seen 2v2 on a number of occasions. Newtown Pride, the inaugural winners of the 2023 TST, utilized the target score time to their advantage. As a team that consisted of players from the Major Arena Soccer League, they utilized it to their benefit, trying to goad the opposition into attacking and then beating them on the counter. But holding it in the backfield will not be an occurrence. Free kick from the moment of infraction. And as we saw in the Orlando Pirates versus Furia FC match, we saw a few backfield violations. One done unintentionally and unforced, and one done as a result of a lot of pressure implemented by the defense. So we're just waiting for the start of TST, target score time, which also is a clever acronym for this tournament itself. TST means 2 things: the soccer tournament and target score time. For those fans rooting for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, you got to be feeling pretty good. Strikers have had a 50% conversion rate as they've scored 3 goals on the 6 that they've had on target. América with 15 shots, 1 more than Fort Lauderdale, but with 4 shots on target. As you saw on a couple of occasions, they overcooked a few of their attempts well above that 6.5 feet crossbar. And it certainly has been a fun one here. América trying to get back in. The goal scorers, just as a reminder, Joel Torbic got the first one. Sidney Rivera, courtesy by an assist of Stefano Pino, would get the second. And then Miguel Fuertes, with some forza, would get the third. That is where we stand here. 1 to go as both teams enter into the field of battle. Hills are climbable. Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro. People have scaled those mountains. Now, I'm not saying that América has as much of a hill to climb, but 3-0, we certainly can't call that a hill. Or just a hill. So Nick Pereira from América takes the Voit to his hand, places it right at center pitch. We're moments away from the start of TST. What you may see is either team throwing on an extra attacker, pulling the keeper, and bringing in another field player once possession is established on the offensive end of the pitch. América, that one sails above the crossbar. As I believe that was Alejandro Garcia with the attempt. So now it's Fort Lauderdale. As stated, they've got 15 seconds. Now, América, having played in this tournament before, should be very, very well aware of that rule. As we saw, a couple of the new teams that had never competed in TST had gotten called for those backfield violations. Now, in that case, because the ball took a deflection from Layun, it resets. Hosha, well outside of his box. A misdirected attempt. As the keeper comes out of the box, though, we have seen some three-quarter length goals in the last few years here at TST. When you add the keeper as an extra attacker, that's living by the sword or potentially dying by the sword. But so far, wielding the weapon has been Fort Lauderdale. So they've struck América on 3 occasions. América still sitting on a goose egg, trying to find one back. The target score 4. Fort Lauderdale spreading things out. The shot! And that comes right off of América as Brian Arellano muscles it in. But it takes a deflection. Just have a moment here as Corral really took one for the team. As the official motioning to the training staff, couldn't have felt good. Even from way up here in the press box, we felt it. But Corral, showing that competitive spirit and that firepower, says he's okay. Just needed a moment to collect himself. Corner kick opportunity here for the Strikers. We're about a minute to go before a player gets removed from both teams. Can't quite see who's on the far end of the post as the netting is shielding it. No, I see now. It's Bastidas. And so here's, well, waiting on that whistle. It's Fort Lauderdale patiently waiting to pounce on their set piece. As it is Joel who scored the first goal of the game. Only one striker in the box. For the most part, everybody else marked heavily with the exception of Jesse Williams, who's standing right by center turf. Or center pitch, rather. Too many years calling games in the Major Arena Soccer League. Turf and pitch, 2 different animals. This is grass. And actually, this is turf, so I stand corrected. Joel. Still waiting for the officials to. Checking something out on a screen. Scratching his head. Either way, will it be Fort Lauderdale? While we take a moment, just want to once again thank you for joining us here in Cary, North Carolina. Day 1 of the TST. 159 games played throughout all 3 divisions, men's, women's, and mixed. All right, so I've been corrected where I was corrected. So it is grass. And some of the finest grass, by the way, I should say, we see in the great state of North Carolina, the Tar Heel State. Here we go with another minute put on the clock. Just because the official is going back and forth, I can't tell you quite what it is, but it doesn't matter. Ball gets put into play. The strike and the game winner. Fort Lauderdale knocks out Club América. Mohamed Ben Sharif with the game winner and the golden fleece. That golden fleece, a scarf that will be bestowed upon his neck. That'll give him lifetime access to the TST and the TBT. Fort Lauderdale came out hungry, came out aggressive, and they not only beat Club América, they shut out Club América. Los Millonarios, stunned by this former NASL team, Fort Lauderdale Strikers. A big, big win to open up their TST. For Club América, they have another game tonight at 7:15 Eastern Standard Time against the Italian side Cagliari. For Fort Lauderdale, at 7:15, they are going to take on Villarreal. So stick around for that one. Folks, on behalf of myself, Christian Philemon, better known as Philly, we just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this game here at TST. You are watching it on YouTube. We'll see you, well, in another hour. Enjoy your afternoon.